Welcome to episode 11 of Kokoon. And on this episode, we're so lucky to have Shane O'Donnell, who's the founder of Praxis Mindset Guide. So welcome, Shane.
Thanks very much, Karen. I am very honored to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. So with our guests, we like to start at the beginning because it's a logical place to start. So tell me, how did you actually, what is your story? How did you end up as the founder of Praxis Mindset Guide?
Well, Karen, it's not a very long story, but I took a long time about it. I actually had to go broke, financially broke, for me to wake up. Yeah, so when I was 15 years old, I'm Australian born, but I grew up in Zimbabwe, in Africa. And I remember when I was 15, I was sitting at our having lunch with my folks on our farm north of Zimbabwe. And my folks were actually having an argument about the price of bread. And at 15, I didn't know anything. I didn't have a commercial idea in my head, but I said to myself, I can't believe that these adults are having this argument. Excuse me. So I decided there and then, I remember saying, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I also, not long after that, I'd watch my cousins get married and so on. And I thought, I don't want to marry people like that. So I decided on exactly three criteria. Two of them being for the woman that I was going to marry. One is she was going to be a brunette, and two, she would be a woman with fire. And I've got that. I married an Italian and love her dearly. I wish I'd asked for spark. Fire is a bit much. I get that full Italian come out every now and again. And anyway, so I didn't know how I was going to get to this goal that I'd set in my mind. I didn't write it down or anything. But when I was 30, I remember sitting in my office and I realized it was my birthday that weekend. And I had various activities planned for Saturday and Sunday. I used to play polo cross. I was being trained all down on a magnificent horse by one of the country's first team polo cross players all day. So I was going to ride all day. That's what I loved. Then the next day, on Sunday, I was going to kayak in the Zambezi, which I loved, all day. But what I did on Friday in my office was I calculated how much I was worth financially, and I achieved my goal, and not in US dollars terms, which I wish I knew what a US dollar was when I was 15. But anyway, I realized I'd hit my goal. And what happened on that weekend was quite interesting. Saturday was magnificent. Saturday night, I had a lovely dinner with Lorna, my wife. And then Sunday morning, I walked down to the gorge, and kayaking was a thing that I ideally loved doing. And I kayaked down the gorge, got to halfway, and I had no desire at all to carry on. And the best part is the afternoon. And I walked out. And from that period on, for about 5 years, it was almost as if I was out in the wilderness. We went to the US to open a business, my wife and I. There was all kinds of things happening in Zimbabwe. So my wife said, no, we're not living here anymore. We had two young daughters. And so we went to the US. I didn't want to live there. We got involved with this business, and I said no. So we went back to Zimbabwe. Then my wife said, no, enough. And so we moved to Australia. So I came back home, essentially. And I had no real idea because I've got no qualifications. I've only ever owned my own businesses. So I decided, an ex-business partner of mine, his family and my family, we moved over together, and we decided we were going to open a couple of stores in Sydney. Went to Sydney and opened these stores. And it took us 2 years to burn through all our cash. And we just ran out of money. We didn't have enough money to pay for all the mistakes that we were making. We just made mistake after mistake, and it was no one's fault except ours. And 2 weeks after we decided everything had to shut, my ex-business partner, who's like my brother, he got a job with his brother, and he never looked back. His now retired and made a fortune out of that business. But I had nothing. I couldn't get a job because I got no qualifications. I was sitting in Sydney, in probably one of the most expensive cities on the planet, and no one would employ me. I couldn't get a job. And so my ears opened up. I realized that I had achieved a whole bunch of things in my life because I'd opened many businesses and they all just seemed to grow. And so I had no issue opening business in Sydney, but then we got a hiding and I had to work out why. And fortunately, and bless his heart, a Sydney businessman, Errol Shivers, and I'm indebted to him for the rest of my life. He took his time to mentor me, to coach me, and he put me in touch with Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor literally saved my life. His teachings for over 60 years. I was going to church and I was tithing, I was doing all these sort of things, and I really believed in it. I still do. Not that I go to church anymore, but I don't see any problem with it. It's just not for me, because I was sitting once with a pastor who used to come to Christmas dinner with us. I got to know him really well. I was sitting having a cup of tea with him, and I said to him, my mate who I lost this business with, he does not believe that there's anything other than what we have in our physical reality. He doesn't believe there's a higher being or a higher power or infinite intelligence, nothing. But he got a job 2 weeks after, and he's flying his family all over the world on holidays. I've hardly got any money to put in my petrol in my car to go to church. What is that about? And Marcus said to me, I don't know. So I said, clearly I'm looking in the wrong place. And that's, so for me, my journey has been understanding, how do I earn so that I can provide for my family, provide for our future. So because I never wanted for 1 second to grow old broke, because both my parents taught me that's not what I want to do. They both left this planet broke. So they were great teachers for me. So that's been my journey. That's the short version. I can give you a lot more detail.
Yeah. And so what is Praxis Mindset Guide? What do you actually do in your business?
Well, Praxis Mindset Guide is basically, I'm continuing, my intention is to continue Bob Proctor's work that he did for 60 years. So he is he has taught the whole idea of how to create order in your mind, focus your mind, set your intention of what you want to do. And in that process, what happens is you begin to understand and become aware of who you really are, the true essence of who we are. And the true essence of who we are is perfect. The problem we have as we grow up is we inherit a whole bunch of ideas which don't serve us. And so as Bob teaches, we have this paradigm. And the paradigm, all it is a multitude of habits. And that's how we generally move into every day. And we tend to get the same result because most of what we do every day is habitual. And so we provide a 6-month coaching series designed by Bob and his 60 years of teaching this material. And we enable people to transform their performance in their business. Primarily, that's my focus. I love helping people improve professionally if they have a job, or small business. That's where I come from.
Excellent. And we can talk more about some of these transformations a bit later in our chat. So what do you do? Because it sounds like it's very intense work. What do you do to maintain your energy levels?
I've got a routine, Karen. I figured out that order is heaven's first law. So I'll take it a step back. As human beings, and I wish they taught this when we were young, we live a dual reality every moment of every day. And some people get this, but majority don't. So we've got this antagonistic process that's happening all the time. We have the unseen thought world, our emotional world, our ambitions, our aspirations. It's all unseen. It's seen by the person in their own mind and no one else. And then we've got our physical reality. Both are real experiences that we are experiencing every moment of every day. However, most of our time is spent, and we're taught to focus on the physical reality. Now, if we think about it, and we think about the idea of cause and effect, nothing is created before we have a thought and we think about it. So thought is cause and the rest is effect. So everything that we see around us has already been created. And so therefore, if we focus on that, we're just going to stay where we are. So to go back to the idea of how do I maintain my energy levels, I have a structure that I move into every day. And it starts off with focusing on where I'm going. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I focus on where I'm going, where am I, what direction is my life moving in? And that's when you start to unpack that and you start to focus your mind on where you're going, you start to release energy. Energy, we're a bundle of energy, but we pinch it off by being unfocused, by focusing on things that we that don't interest us or are not important to us. But as we become aware of who we really are and what our gift is or our unique ability, then we start to release that energy, and then it's infinite. There's an infinite amount of energy.
Yeah, excellent. And so there must be some times where you have to work really intensely for, a certain period of time. When you have to do that, when you're coming into a really busy period, do you have any sort of thing that you do after that to sort of regulate and soothe yourself after that and get back in sort of to a state of equilibrium from before that? Do you have any sort of rituals?
Yeah, I do. It used to be beer. I used to drink a lot of beer. I don't anymore.
No.
I literally, my wife and I just don't need alcohol anymore. So that's gone. And what is interesting is that in the winter now, I'm at 4 o'clock, I just go for a long walk. And eventually I'm moving up to, I've been away for 7 weeks. So I've done nothing for 7 weeks other than eat and be merry. So I'm just getting started again. But my intention is I want to run marathons when I'm 80. So I've got work to do there. So I go and be in nature because we live in a little bit of paradise here on the Sunshine Coast. And I'm on my own, and I'm out there for about an hour. I do a bit of exercise when I come back, and then I'm refreshed. But in terms of working myself up, I don't know if I could do it anymore. I do have a mantra that I keep rolling around in my mind, and I'll share it with anyone. But I just keep telling myself I'm calm, I'm relaxed, and funny enough, everything seems to keep working out for me. So even if I'm going through a difficult time, I understand that life is never going to just be bliss. We need the contrast. We need the good with the bad, because with the bad, I know exactly what that's not what I want. So this is what I do want. So that initiates growth. So I do maintain that mantra. I also am very, very clear that there is a law called the law of relativity. And so everything just is. I don't have to get excited about anything, or I don't have to be upset about anything, because everything just is. And if you live in the belief that there is a higher power, that there's infinite intelligence, I can say to myself, and just let go of something that's bothering me and leave it over. So if I'm thinking of a desk, I put it in the in tray of infinite intelligence, say, I've done my best, I can't do anything more with it, it's over to you now. That's how I let it go.
The in tray of infinite intelligence.
I've been doing that for years. Before I even met Bob Proctor, I've been doing that, and it actually helps me a lot, in particular with the Italian. When she goes off, there's nothing I can do. It's over to you. And within a few hours, it's all resolved.
Yeah, excellent. And so, like, looking back at the beginning of your career, what do you wish you knew about how to maintain your own wellness back then? So, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice, what would you tell yourself?
My word, there's only one thing that really grips me, and it's what gets me up every day, because mankind essentially is asleep to who we really are. We are creative beings. We have, every single human being has an infinite agenda. They've come to this planet for a reason. And there are a lot of people who will ask, or have asked me over time, I don't know what my purpose is. How do I find my purpose? Well, your purpose is it's within every single person. And we just don't know how to unpack it. And when we do unpack it, so to answer your question specifically, I wish I'd understood the creative process. I wish I'd understood who I truly was, and I was made aware that I am an eternal being living a human experience. That's who I am. Because then I wouldn't have wandered around. When I realized I'd achieved my goal at 30, I would have realized that I need to set a new goal. As a result of being rudderless, and I smashed up against the rocks. I didn't sail into any harbor because I didn't have a harbor to go to. I arrived in Australia with no real plan. It was a half-baked idea, and we lost all our money. And I had to go diving down into the depths of despair and depression and all manner of things. I got enormously ill because of it, all the stress and pressure, but the results being great. We managed to pull out of that, and we've just sold a business that we built from scratch, my wife and I, and she never has to work again, and we don't have to worry about retirement. It's all done. Houses are paid for, so we're good. Now my job is to take that experience that I have and help people that went through what I went through. That's my purpose in life. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's really admirable that you are doing that, because a lot of people would be like, I'm done. That's it. So
No,
yeah,
I
great.
got too much in me. I got like 40 years ahead of me. So there's no ways I'm going to sit and play. I don't play golf. So what am I going to do?
Well, speaking of what you're going to do, so I'm on social media a lot, but I wanted to know, you're quite active as well, particularly on LinkedIn. So because I mean, social media can take up a lot of time and attention. So how do you navigate social media while still maintaining your own wellness? So how do you find the balance? Do you have any techniques that you use?
There's one technique. I realized that I was useless at it. It's not my passion. So that's why I've employed your company.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I find, Karen, I don't know if you realize that I'd gone to a bunch of your talks that you did through Tourism Noosa to try and understand what an Instagram was. I mean, I had a Facebook account for years, but I was never active on it because I don't know, it just doesn't interest me. LinkedIn, I had one, but there was no reason to post on it because I didn't see any value in it. But when we sold our business, which was March, I decided, well, I better start getting active on the social media so that people get to know who I am, so I can add value to people's lives. And I did it for about 2 weeks, and then I contacted your company and I said, please, can you do this for me? And I'm so grateful that you guys do that. So to answer your question, going forward in my life, the biggest problem I found with small business owners is they DIY everything.
Yes.
And the DIY is what causes the stress, because you cannot be an expert in everything. And most small business owners say, well, I haven't got the money for it. That is not true. Money can be found for everything. So I'm a big believer in investing in getting the best people you can afford to do the job that you don't want to do. And I'm not an accountant, so I employ a bookkeeper. I employ an accountant. I employ a bookkeeper. I won't do that work. I can't do it. I knots in my back and whatever. Social media. I mean, your company's amazing. You've got PhDs everywhere. You've got people that are just enthusiastic about what they do. I love it. So that's my solution. How I navigate it is I outsource that to competent people.
Yeah. Excellent. And thank you for the shout out as well. My question to you, so we talked before about sort of transforming people's lives. So do you have a story of someone's life that you have transformed through Praxis Mindset Guide? And you don't have to give their details, but just a story of a positive transformation that you helped.
That's a deep question. Yeah. It's very deep. Not one. People come back to me and say, Shane, I used to have no self-confidence, and now I can stand in front and talk to people. I can go to a party. I'm not the wallflower. I can talk to people confidently. I've had people come to me and say, I don't know how I can take my business out of my garage I've had for 15 years and bring it into a commercial space. And I've had that happen where their business has just gone from strength to strength. Lots of transformational stories that are quite emotional. I wouldn't even be able to talk to you about them.
Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, it's so good to hear that what you're doing is having such a positive impact. And with that, what are your key goals for 2023? I know we're nearly halfway through now, but
I've got a big thing happening coming up 4th of July. I launched my new Thinking into Results 6-month coaching series where I facilitate Bob Proctor's course, which is it's next level. It's in my opinion, it's today's leading edge life transformational coaching. It transformed my life. So just to support that, I was going through the doldrums with our business that my wife and I were building, and we're big believers in hard work. We've worked hard all our life. And it's worked for us in the past. But I couldn't figure out what was missing. We were putting in all this effort. We were doing all the right things. We had great people working in our business, but the reward for effort was just not exciting. It was boring me, senseless. I just couldn't get my head around all this effort for this little bit of reward. And a friend of mine who he actually lives in Cape Town, and he made a lot of money early on in his life. So he's been retired since he was 30, and that was 30 years ago. And I was chatting to him about that, and he said to me, and it was quite a heated discussion. In fact, the other person at the table actually left because he felt it was a very awkward discussion. He said, reskill. And that's when I decided I was going to become a Procter Gallagher consultant. It was in me, but I wasn't making the decision because I had to invest enormous amounts of time and effort and money to make that transition. And I was really busy with my current business or the business we just sold. And that was the decision I made. And when I made that decision, and I did my first year's course with Bob Proctor, the first 12 months, our business just went through the roof, and it literally transformed everything. My wife wasn't working as hard as she was, and we started to get organized, and the energy was just pouring into that business, but so were the returns. And then out of the blue, now we had an exit strategy, but we're kind of working at it half-baked. And my wife kept saying to me, we had a valuation, and the valuation came back pretty ordinary. And we said, no, we're not selling for that. Then I said, oh, well, I'll go to the industry. And I didn't want to just start phoning, otherwise it'll get back, not a big industry, and get back to our staff, and then they start asking questions. Anyway, out of the blue, a month later, my wife kept saying, have you phoned? No, I haven't phoned you. I couldn't find the guy's card that I had. Anyway, the opposition company, international company, phoned me and said, "You want?" I said, "Yes, I do. We are interested in so." Anyway, eventually, after a bit of toing and froing, the final offer came back and was 4.5 times what the valuation was.
Wow.
And that is not me saying that I'm clever, because I've got no qualifications, and I'm not clever, because otherwise, if I was clever, I wouldn't be have made the mistakes that I made. What I'm saying is that the system Bob Proctor been teaching for 60 years works. It worked for us, and it was. There's a lot to it, but it's very simple. And I can't recommend that 6-month course enough if someone is feeling like they're not getting the return for the effort that they're putting out. And let's face it, most people that go into the wellness industry, their gift is investing in other people, is giving to other people. But there's a lot of confusion about money. There's no problem with earning and being rewarded for what we do, and rewarded handsomely. And so that's one of the things that we teach about finances, is understanding that earning is an important part of the sustainability of any business. And that's one of the things that you learn and you can uncover and you feel better about as you transform through the 6-month program.
And so with the course, Shane, so what is the it's not so much the monetary investment, but the time investment, because people in the wellness space, generally they don't have a lot of time. So how many hours a week would it be for someone to do that course?
Well, I don't believe anyone had less time than me when I got involved. What I've come to understand is that we all have the same amount of time every day. And it just, what it did mean is that I gave up things of a lower nature. So I just made decisions. They were commercial decisions. I said, well, I'm just going to do that anymore. Or I gave some responsibilities to other people. And if you're a sole trader, you would just cut out things that have no commercial for a period of time. It's not for the rest of your life. Although once I formed the habit of personal development, I just can't get enough of it, because once you start opening that door and start to gaze into another world of who you really are, it's insane. You can't get enough. It's like drinking from a fire hydrant. You can't get enough, because realizations come of daily, weekly, monthly, and where you are today, 6 months from now, you look back and think, wow, that's a completely different. I'm a different person, and so it becomes really exciting. Instead of it being a chore, it becomes a necessity. You can't get enough of it once you start getting into, and it's just changing some of the habits that are holding you where you are. The biggest issue that we have, and this is one of Bob's biggest areas that he taught, is the paradigm. The paradigm wants to keep you where you are. But if you want a new result, then the belief system that's holding you where you are has to be penetrated. And you need, once you find that North Star that you want to shoot for, the thing that you truly want, and you learn how to believe that you can have that, because we can have whatever we truly want, then nothing gets in the way.
And so how is it structured? Is it like group sessions? Is it like instructional videos? What is the structure of the course?
So what we've got is a course a different subject every 2 weeks over the 6 months, and we recommend that at least for an hour a day that you watching the video and watch it, because Bob presents it and he's got a certain energy that you want to get that energy, because you don't necessarily get it just from hearing it. There's workbooks, and we recommend that you work through at least one question a day. They're not difficult. All it is just unpacking who you are. And then we meet. We normally meet once a week for an hour on a Zoom call, but I do have 2 options now because I study on a Thursday the Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. We've got a study group on that, and people they can join that if they want. It's the foundation of where Bob started is that classic.
Excellent. Well, that sounds actually very manageable in terms of time. So yeah. So it just means don't watch Netflix for an hour a day and get off TikTok.
Well, exactly. And what you find is that you start to realize how important your life is. It's not a dress rehearsal. This is it. Every moment that goes past is gone. And every decision we make in the moment, it's like the butterfly effect, sensitive dependence on initial conditions. So if there was a road that went from where we are here in Noosa and went straight across Australia to Perth, if it was a dead straight line road and you got in here and you were going to drive to Perth and your car was slightly, the steering wheel was set slightly off, you would end up in Adelaide. So the idea is no different to your life. If you're not consciously directing where your thoughts are going, you're not gonna get to that North Star of what you really want. And everyone deserves to have what it is that they truly deeply want. And some of those things are massive ideas because when they're brought into the world, it makes the world a better place. Generally, people have something deep down that they want to bring into the world, and it'll benefit them, but generally they benefit others as well. And if you're working in the wellness industry, maybe you have an ambition of a bigger idea, but you just don't know how to bring that into the world. That's what this course is about, and it's so structured, and it's so simple. And the ideas won't give you a brain hernia. That's the beauty about it. You don't have to be, this is not about intelligence. This is about becoming aware of how this whole universe works and using that to move in the direction of where you want to go.
Excellent. And how can people find out more about the course?
Well, the best is to go onto my website because I've got everything on there, or follow on the Facebook, Praxis Mindset Guide, Facebook account, or LinkedIn, or Instagram. And it all goes back to the website where you can contact me via email, and then we can get in contact. I can't... my life is a testament of that Thinking and Results program, and all the other programs that I've done with Bob Proctor. But the Thinking into Results is kind of the foundation. It gives you everything you need, and it's a repeatable process. So like I said, when I was 30, I hit that goal and I didn't reset. If I'd known how this creative process works, I would have just carried on, and I wouldn't have had to put my wife and children through what I put them through for those years just after we lost our business.
Right. And so please get in touch with Shane if you want to learn more. And I have a final question before we wrap up, Shane. And so what advice would you give to people working in the wellness industry to avoid burning out? Because often what can happen, particularly for new practitioners, they just want to help everyone so much, so what would you recommend to them to just make sure they're looking after themselves while they're also helping others?
Well, the number one thing is realize what your strength is. If your strength is helping people with your gift, that's your strength. Your business, most people go into a practice or a business and they think they can just make it up as they go. You need to understand how commerce works, and don't make it up. You need to understand it. So educate yourself. I believe that if you are studying in your wellness area, that's great, but you also do need to understand how to keep your business healthy, just as important, because that can create all kinds of stresses. If you're not making the money you need to make to pay the mortgage or whatever you need to pay, that is not a healthy business. It's not going to help you be the best that you can be. And so that study and study and study. The world is changing so quickly. We know that it's changing at an accelerated pace. People who are not keeping abreast with that, who are not investing in themselves and personal development, they're just staying where they are, and they tend to get the same results over and over. But if you want to keep abreast with what's going on, then you have to keep investing in personal development, and that includes getting a clear understanding of how to run your business successfully.
Excellent. That's great advice.
And success is a subject, and make it a subject that you want to learn, because don't shy away from it. Earning $1 keeps a business healthy. That keeps
Absolutely.
you healthy.
Yeah. I think because that is one of the biggest stresses, isn't it? Money. So,
well, it can be, if you want to look at it that way, or you can live literally, and you can welcome money and abundance into your life, which is what I found when I did Bob's course, and our business exploded. It was like night and day from a year before that, and so I can't recommend it enough.
Well, thank you so much, Shane, for sharing all your wisdom and letting us know about your course. And we'd like to thank everyone for watching and listening as well. So we'll see you next month for episode 12. So thanks again, Shane, and thanks to everyone for being part of this amazing